Hi everyone. So you know that Copilot's a powerful AI assistant that helps you write code faster and better. But is there a right and wrong way to use it? If you want to use it optimally, the answer is yes. And in this best practice video, I will show you what not to do with Copilot in order to use it efficiently. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first thing that I want to mention is don't let Copilot fly the plane. Copilot, as the name suggests, is meant to be an assistant on your flight, not a replacement for you, the real pilot. So don't ask a Copilot to build an enterprise app on its own, assuming success. It is not a substitute for your own full knowledge. Also, it does not always produce correct, optimal, secure code. So while it's tempting to let Copilot write a lot of code for you, doing so without reviewing it may hinder productivity. It's a fantastic tool for generating code suggestions, but as a developer, you are still responsible for checking everything Copilot generates. So it's far better to let Copilot point you in the right direction and to help complete the code that you write as you write it. Let it be the Copilot, but you are the captain flying the plane. The next point I'd like to make is don't misuse Copilot tools. For example, in real life, it may be possible to eat spaghetti with a spoon, but it's not very efficient. Likewise, when prompting Copilot, you want to do it efficiently. For example, right after line 14 here, it's technically possible that I can use comments to prompt Copilot, saying something like to add product rating to this form, in addition to the product name, price, and description that's already there. And when I hit enter, it will make a suggestion. But this is not the most efficient way to do this. Whenever you're within code, if you need to make a prompt, you want to use inline chat. So I can hit Command I here, add my prompt, and as you can see, it makes a suggestion on line 15, which I can accept. The other way to prompt Copilot is to use the side panel chat. But this is more used for conversational questions rather than a simple prompt like this. So something that would be more appropriate is if I were to add that product rating like I just did, I can come to chat and ask it, where else in this app must I update if I add product rating to this form? And as you could see, it could tell us all the different areas in the app that we'll need to make additional updates and the details of that update after I add an input for product rating. Now, I just used product rating as an example here, but we're not going to really add this. If we're here on line 14 and we didn't know that we wanted to add product rating, we can just use ghost text to get suggestions from Copilot. So for example, when I just hit enter, Copilot's smart enough to notice that, oh, you use product name, price, and description. Maybe you might want a product image, and I can go ahead and select that. If I move on to the next line, it will give me another option. How about product category? And so after using ghost text and getting some suggestions there, if I then decide I wanted to add product rating, I can go ahead and request that. But the point is, you want to do what's the simplest first, using ghost text, inline chat, and for something more detailed, conversation-wise, the chat panel. But definitely do not use comments for prompting. Something else to keep in mind is that we don't want to recreate existing prompts. So somewhere in this code here, between line 14 and 19, there's some type of issue. So I can ask a Copilot to fix the issue. And when I hit enter, it can find the problem and offer a suggestion. And as you can see on line 16, it added an equal sign here. But a quicker way to have addressed this issue was just to use the slash command. So within Copilot, I can just hit slash. And as you could see, fix was already an option. Propose a fix for the problems in the selected code. And just by selecting that and hit enter, I get prompted with a solution. Now, sometimes when you're prompted with solutions, there could be more than one solution. So make sure that you navigate through each one to see which is best and select them. But in this case, there's just one that I could accept, and that's on line 16. It added the equal right before the greater than sign. So you want to keep this in mind for common commands that you might ask, such as to fix a problem or to explain some code, to write documentation or some tests. So I could select let's say at the very part, if I was still unfamiliar with like how interfaces in this particular code here works, I could use the slash command to explain the selected area. And on the left-hand side, it will explain to me how the TypeScript interface declaration works. Now, while we're in the chat panel here, I should also mention that the slash command also works here, and you have even more options than from the inline chat, which includes API, search, workspace, etc. So definitely make some time to get familiar with some of these slash commands, and they will be getting updated as Copilot matures in order to be as efficient as possible without having to recreate prompts that already exist. Next up, don't forget about context. When using Copilot, context is everything. And the clearer the context is for Copilot, the more relevant its solutions will be. So there's a few things that you want to do. The first is that if you're having conversation with Copilot, particularly in the panel, and you sense that the suggestions that you're getting are a little bit off track, you can always go back up and delete previous questions and prompts that you've asked just by navigating up and down the panel and hitting the X to remove the request and its response. The other thing to keep in mind in terms of context is to always have the related parts of your code selected when giving it a prompt. So if I want to ask questions, let's say related to the add event listener, I want to have that highlighted. I could choose not to highlight it and ask Copilot, but it's just inefficient, and it's just better to have it highlighted, and then maybe I can come over here and ask it to explain it to me. And there won't be any confusion. Copilot will know exactly what to explain to me in regards to the add event listener. The other point I'd like to mention, and as you could see right in the prompt, is at workspace. The at workspace agent knows about your workspace and can answer questions related to it. So solutions you get is relevant to your project, but not just a general technical answer. Another thing to point out is to add files to your project so that Copilot takes that into consideration when answering questions. So if you know some of your questions might be relevant to the styles sheet, make sure that that's open and part of your project. And last but not least, you can always reuse prompts that you've asked, and you don't need to have to scroll up and down to look at your previous prompts. If you have your cursor right at the bottom of the panel here, just by hitting the up arrow, you can navigate through your previous prompts, and that also saves time. So in short, when you manage your context by keeping all these practices in mind, you'll definitely be maximizing the relevance of the solutions Copilot ends up giving you. And the last thing that I'd like to mention is to not ignore the feedback features. Use the feedback and rating features of Copilot because it is constantly learning from your feedback. So let's say, for example, there was a typo over here. And when I ask Copilot for a suggestion, you'll notice on the right-hand side of the prompt here, you can use the thumbs up or thumbs down button to rate the suggestions. If you want to report any issues, by clicking on the ellipsis right above, you have the option to do that. Doing this will help Copilot improve over time and provide you with better code suggestions in the future. That's it for this best practice video on what not to do with Copilot. Hope you found it useful, and don't forget to check out our other Copilot related videos. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.